outcome-based reporting after the activities are designed. It's very
Absolutely.
important.
And the board, now boards should take a policy decision. If the board decides, this one, number 7, in a project mode, what is the beginning? What's the end? What's the result outcome? So if you fix these things at the board level, it will be quite difficult to change it. But I agree that it is not 100% possible. But it is a better than what was happening earlier.
Sir, I would like to add to his point. Although he's talking about higher level of politicians, I'll give you a village level politicians who do these things. In villages, there are different samitis which are made under the 3-tier system of working. So it is Gram Panchayat, Sarpanch or Spanch. They want their work to be done through their persons. Otherwise, for outside or any outsider who is doing that work, outsider than that village, they don't agree to it. And they will always put hurdle into it. How to overcome all these things? What they want the money to be spent by them or their samiti in which they may be having some interest. So this higher level of politicians are not that difficult. I am from PSU. The lowest level is most difficult. Suppose if I put a LED solar lighting system, so they will say you have put it in front of that house, you have not put it in front of this house, this is not a good place, that is not a good place. They will create a lot of problems.
Yes, very well taken. Yes, these are the operational issues.
These are the operational issues.
We are going to face.
Because allocation money is not that difficult.
Agreed.
So we'll take up more questions during the
No, last one.
He
Last one.
asked, he can say no to question.
No, sir.
Sir, actually, if the government people are kind enough to publish the object class of 135 and the need assessment behind the Schedule 7, the level of debate would come down, sir. So at some point of time, we have to stop debating and start thinking constructively.
Absolutely. These are issues which are unanswered. The gap in the law is strongly felt. Very strongly. Both points are gaps in the law. Yes, madam, somebody wanted to? Yes.
Sir, I would like to call the attention on point 9 in the Schedule 7, where
9
a corporate or any PSU or private sector can contribute some amount to the Prime Minister's
Yes,
fund
yes.
or anywhere, and that also becomes a part of corporate social responsibility. And where is the sustainability part lying over there, if that is the case?
Absolutely. In
Because in a private sector, there is no monitoring system as such for the corporate social responsibility. So is it corporate social responsibility being implemented through this act, or it's only corporate responsibility of giving something to some relief fund and finishing off, washing off their hands from the being socially responsible?
Very good.
So,
2 points here. Sustainability part is not there. I told very much. Now, DP has issued guidelines which are different from these guidelines, adding sustainability back on the agenda. But for private sector, it remains same. Second, so once you are spending, one good thing is that, it was supplementing government effort. But again, the criticism says, how do you know that I am doing it? What is my tag? I should get benefit. I am spending money. So government money and my money are all together. How to get tag? Now let me tell you one point Mr. Acharya made. I was Secretary School Education. The study by UNICEF says that girls' enrollment in schools, single biggest deterrent is absence of separate toilets for girls. Single biggest deterrent, mind you. And UNICEF studied it and said, just by providing girls' toilet, 30% enrollment goes up. Only one factor. So how important? We don't realize it. So therefore, if we are spending money hugely on girls, I'll strongly support it. As a former Secretary of Education, I know the money is not available and the girls are having problems. They're not coming to school because of that. After a certain age, they'll not come to school. Nobody will know why they're not coming. But this is a factor. So certain things are very good, adding to government resources, not replacing government. Then somebody said, oh, Jamshedpur, Tata is there for 100 years. But people are poor around that. What Tata is doing? I said, look, CSR is supplemental. CSR is not the main. If you think Tata is there to remove poverty, you are wrong. Tata is there to make world-class steel at best price. And in the process, help the poor. not vice versa. So therefore, CSR should not be lost sight of in the perspective of being supplemental to government effort. So many issues are there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir, if you recall in the very starting itself, I said that every time I get to hear sir, it's something new. And definitely I would say the participants, sir, that the action plan defined by you is definitely the key to the corporates and practitioners for all the problems that they are facing practically. It's also a privilege for me to read out the profile of Shri S.K. Acharya ji. It is really an honor to have his presence here and accepting to preside over this particular session, sir. So he is currently the Director HR of NLC, and he's also a part of the board of NLC. And if we know that he has held various leadership positions, and currently he is at a very integral position of NLC, which is handling about 14,000 crores, engaging around 30,000 employees of this organization. So he holds a very key position in this organization, and his past experiences was with BHEL, NTPC SAIL joint venture, and he has also been a recipient of HR Leadership Award at the World HRD Congress and the Employer Branding Institute of Asia for his outstanding contribution in the field of HR. Sir Acharya has also been conferred as the HR Leader Award by the Asia Pacific HRM Congress in 2011 as well as 2012 consecutive years. Leadership and Inspiration Award by the Bengal Chairman of Commerce and Industry and EI LM India in 2012. He was also the HR Leader with Global Orientation Award by Institute of Public Enterprise in 2014. And the most powerful HR professional of India, and he was awarded this with citation as among 30 most talented HR leaders in PSUs by IP during the World HR Congress in 2013. Under his dynamic leadership as a director of NLC, the company has bagged IP HR Leadership Awards with the best HR strategy in line with business, and also backed ET Now Talent and HR Leadership Awards in the category of organization with innovative HR practices. And to tell practically, we have been associated with sir, and we have done small little assignments in the area of CSR, and every time we get to meet him, it's a learning experience, and it's lots to learn from him. So I'm sure my participants are also looking for the same, sir. So may I please request you to give your presidential remarks to this session, please?
Dr. Rath, though within a very short time frame, led us through a fantastic presentation and the ideas behind the presentation, both in conceptual framework and operational aspects, operational issues. I will just focus on 3 areas based on his presentation and the interaction that he had with our people to various questions. First is the operational issue. Being in the public sector, we know whatever the mandate is there in the law book or in our directory or in our governance principles, beyond that, in the practical field, we get so many dictates from the local leaders, from the politicians at the local level, as well as at the higher level also. But I feel we can always create a win-win situation for everybody. When we do the study with regard to the requirement, that time we take into account the baseline survey reports, and we interact with the village level advisory committees, where we have the representation from the local administration as well as from the leaders heading the village panchayat societies over there. And the MPs and MLAs also, many times, they come over and join us. Yes, they want the benefit to be given to their people, and if it is falling within the framework of our study, we go ahead and do it. And also, we involve them. Okay, let them have the pleasure of telling that yes, I got it done from my people, for my people. And normally I have found, whenever they say that give us the money, we'll do, the people in general oppose. Those beneficiaries they oppose, they know the quality of work we do in project mode is much better than what basically they will be getting through the other agencies or the MPs and MLAs or the state government doing that. There is no complaint against them, but this is the basic feeling of the beneficiaries. They want all of us in the public sector, or say in my case the NLC, where we do the things in a project mode. And once we lay down the basic requirements well ahead of the budget year, based on the baseline survey and the requirement study of the peripheral areas and also outside, there is very little scope left for others to just come in and say, give away your entire money to us, because the commitment is made almost 1 year in advance. That is what we do. And while laying down the operational aspects guidelines in the board, the subcommittee of the board takes into account all the parameters, and there the budget is allocated. Once the budget is allocated, and again we sign our MOU with the government, there things are almost frozen. We don't have much of flexibility to to go and fall in trap with the whims and fancies of the politicians over there. And because we aim to do the best for the society, right? And that is the operational aspect. And there, again, reflecting on the CSR, the institutional framework in a company, what I feel, and I agree with the observations of Dr. Rath, and that CSR until recently was not something given very much importance in organizational setup. Perhaps people not doing well in other areas or the production or the main line, they were being put in CSR. Their career growth also was not on commensurating with the other people working in line. And CSR mostly was considered as a photo op opportunity for senior people distributing something, getting photographed, and getting published in the newspapers. But now we are gradually coming out of that. CSR now is coming from within once it is integrated in the business ethos, in the business ethics, and also the individual social responsibility is also getting integrated with it. People, those who are executing now, they're not just simply playing or doing the role. They feel that they are doing something good, where people around feel that they are for us and they are doing something very beneficial for us, what we looked for. And the relief that comes to the corporate body doing business, basically it is from the goodwill. One, I will not say relief, rather an encouragement to do the business better, because there is a feel-good factor among the people, and the feel-good factor is something that propels the business. And next aspect I will be touching is inclusion. This inclusive growth is something that we should aim at, and while profit and efficient functioning is a must, it should not be at the cost of the society or the people around. People around, I don't mean only the peripheral villages. It can be the entire country. Supposing one IT industry, perhaps there is no project-affected families over there, but at the same time, whatever they want to do, they can do it with a view around the country, basically taking into account the requirements in terms of healthcare, sanitation, education, and all the 9 or 10 things listed over here. And one thing we find that to eradicate extreme hunger, I take an exception to this. Why extreme hunger? Hunger is hunger. And if you want to eradicate poverty and hunger, work towards that. Why wait for only extreme hunger? So that is something I find, okay, these are the broad guidelines, but really all the guidelines don't limit us, because any other thing that is there, and we have to find that while including all the stakeholders, because I cannot do injustice to the internal stakeholders that they have to be taken care of, at the same time the external stakeholders. And when we plan for CSR, can we give them a scope to be a part of our decision-making process? As I told you, the baseline survey, the opinion of the village people, the opinion makers over there that play a great role what I'll be doing. And the need-based survey that basically gives us the mandate what exactly to do. And once we go for the impact assessment study